At 3:42 a.m. on October 17, 2018, security cameras at Buenos Aires Central Hospital captured something inexplicable. A shadowy figure, tall and cloaked, glided down the corridor of the intensive care unit. It passed through a closed door into room 174. 3 minutes later, the patient inside, a man with no previous signs of decline, flatlined. The medical staff had no explanation for his sudden death. The security footage was analyzed by 3 separate experts. None could explain the shadow that moved independently of any person or object in the hallway. None could explain why the temperature in the corridor dropped 15 degrees as it passed. And none could explain why 5 other patients on the same floor reported seeing the same figure that night. A tall, hooded presence carrying what one described as a farmer's tool. The Grim Reaper had come calling. Throughout human history, across vastly different cultures and continents, death has worn a face. From ancient cave paintings to modern cinema, we have given form to the formless, creating an entity that embodies our greatest fear, and perhaps our greatest certainty. The Grim Reaper as we know him today, cloaked in black, skeletal, carrying a scythe, emerged in 14th century Europe during the Black Death. As plague claimed 1/3 of the population, death became personified in art and literature. But death has worn many faces throughout history. Ancient Greeks knew him as Thanatos, the twin brother of sleep. Romans called him Mors, a force that even the gods feared. Norse mythology had Hel, daughter of Loki, who ruled the underworld and claimed those who didn't die gloriously in battle. What's most fascinating is how similar death's personification remains across vastly different cultures. From the Aztec god Mictlantecutli to the Hindu Yama to the Japanese Shinigami, death is often portrayed as a guide escorting souls from this world to the next. But why the scythe? Why the skeleton? Why the black robe? The scythe represents harvest, the reaping of souls. The skeleton reminds us of our ultimate fate. And the black robe conceals the face too terrible to behold. Throughout history, people have claimed to see the Reaper before their death or the death of loved ones. In hospice care, it's not uncommon for patients near death to describe seeing a dark figure in the room. Medical science explains these as hallucinations caused by oxygen deprivation or medication, but some accounts are harder to dismiss. In 1977, Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, pioneer in near-death studies, documented cases where patients not only saw death personified, but described identical details without having spoken to each other. The consistency is remarkable, she wrote. They described not just a presence, but a specific entity with purpose. Dr. Raymond Moody, who coined the term near-death experience, has collected over 3,000 cases of people who were clinically dead before being resuscitated. In his research, 72% described being greeted by a figure who guided them toward a light or boundary. What's striking, Dr. Moody notes, is that this figure is described similarly regardless of the person's religious background or cultural context. Something universal seems to be at work. In 2014, a study at the University of Southampton found that 40% of cardiac arrest survivors reported awareness during the time they were clinically dead. Many described a figure they understood to be death, not frightening but calming and familiar. The Reaper appears in our modern world too. Soldiers in combat zones across different wars and decades report seeing a dark figure on battlefields. Hospital staff speak of Grim Reaper shifts when multiple patients die unexpectedly. Marine Sergeant James Wilcox, who served in Afghanistan, described an encounter that haunts him still. It was during a firefight in Kandahar. I saw a tall figure standing in the middle of the battlefield. No one was shooting at it. It seemed to be watching, waiting. That night, 3 men from my unit died. I've never told anyone this before because it sounds crazy, but I know what I saw. In 2016, researchers at the University of Cambridge conducted an anonymous survey of medical professionals. Of the 1,879 respondents, 23% reported witnessing phenomena they couldn't explain medically, including shadows or figures present near patients who were about to die. Dr. Helena Rasmussen, who led the study, noted, These are scientifically minded professionals who are reluctant to attribute supernatural causes to what they observe. Yet many of them described experiences that defy conventional explanation. One nurse with 30 years of experience wrote, "I've seen the same dark figure at the bedside of at least 7 patients throughout my career. Each time the patient died within hours, even when there was no medical indication they were declining. I've stopped mentioning it to colleagues because I don't want to be labeled as superstitious." Perhaps most compelling are the cases where the Reaper has been seen by multiple witnesses simultaneously. In 1995, at a nursing home in Portland, Oregon, 3 staff members and 2 visitors independently reported seeing a tall, cloaked figure moving through the hallway and entering the room of Elaine Meeks, an 87-year-old resident. Mrs. Meeks, who had been in stable condition, died peacefully in her sleep that night. The 5 witnesses gave nearly identical descriptions of the figure, despite being interviewed separately. None had discussed the sighting with the others before giving their accounts. Modern technology has occasionally captured what some believe to be evidence of the Reaper. In addition to the Buenos Aires hospital footage, a 2020 incident at Memorial Hospital in Colorado Springs was recorded on multiple security cameras. A shadowy figure appeared to move through the ICU, passing through closed doors. The hospital's technical team could find no explanation for the anomaly. The footage was analyzed by Dr. Marcus Chen, a physicist specializing in optical phenomena. What makes this case interesting, Dr. Chen explained, is that the shadow appears to absorb light rather than simply block it. It's not behaving according to the normal properties of light and shadow. Whether the Grim Reaper exists as a supernatural entity or merely as a powerful archetype in our collective unconscious, his presence serves a purpose. He gives form to the formless, making comprehensible what we cannot understand. Carl Jung suggested that death's personification represents our need to make meaning of the meaningless. "We create the Reaper," he wrote, "not because death needs a face, but because we need death to have one." Perhaps most intriguing is how our relationship with the Reaper has evolved over time. In medieval art, death was portrayed as terrifying and merciless. Today, he often appears as a more complex figure, sometimes frightening, sometimes compassionate, sometimes even humorous. This evolution reflects our changing relationship with mortality itself. As medical science has extended our lives and given us greater control over how and when we die, death has become less an everyday presence and more a distant abstraction. Yet the Reaper remains, adapting to our modern world. He appears in our films, our literature, our video games, transformed but recognizable. We may push death to the margins of our consciousness, but we cannot eliminate it entirely. Some researchers suggest that the Reaper isn't just a psychological construct, but a genuine psychic phenomenon, a thought form or egregore created by centuries of collective belief. According to this theory, we have given death a form so consistently and for so long that it has taken on an independent existence. Dr. Sophia Templeton, a parapsychologist at Edinburgh University, explains, "Consciousness shapes reality in ways we're only beginning to understand. The Grim Reaper may exist because we need him to exist, because billions of minds over thousands of years have imagined him into being. Whether the Reaper exists beyond our imagination matters less than what he represents. The certainty that our time is limited, that our lives are measured, and that something waits beyond the threshold we all must cross. Perhaps the most profound aspect of the Reaper is not his fearsome appearance, but his fundamental fairness. He comes for everyone, rich and poor, powerful and weak, young and old. In a world of inequality, death remains the great equalizer. The next time you feel a chill without cause or glimpse a shadow without source, perhaps pause and consider. The Reaper may not come as an enemy, but as an usher to whatever lies beyond. And if the security footage from that hospital in Buenos Aires tells us anything, it's that the ancient figure who has haunted our collective imagination for millennia may be more than just a symbol. He may still walk among us, invisible until the moment he comes for you. The Grim Reaper reminds us of a truth we often forget in our busy lives. that every second is precious because they are numbered. And somewhere, in some form, someone or something is keeping count. Thanks for watching Dark Thoughts, where we delve into the shadows of reality that others are afraid to explore. If there's a dark corner of human experience you'd like us to investigate, leave your suggestions in the comments below. Until next time, question everything, fear nothing, and remember, the darkest thoughts often lead to the brightest truths.